Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another workshop in our series on grounding techniques. In this one, we briefly look at how grounding technique and our brain work together and what really goes on into our mind when we practice grounding technique. Because spending a minute here or just briefly understanding this will help you as you practice the grounding techniques, which I'll talk about more in detail, several of them in our upcoming video. So let's get started and understand grounding technique and our brain. When we are stressed, our amygdala. So amygdala is this part of our brain which is stored. This is not actually a visual diagram of amygdala, which is inside our limbic system of our brain. I'm just giving you a fair overview of where amygdala is. It's inside our limbic system, which is our deep inside our brain. And this amygdala is also called our alarm system. It's a brain's alarm system. And sometimes brain can also sends in false alarms. So when we are stressed, this alarm system fires up and we get into a fight, flight, or freeze response. So you have a threat from the external environment. Your response to it is either you just go and counter it, like you fight it, or you run away from it, which is you are in a flight mode, or you just become numb. You're like you freeze there. Now, all of this is happening with the help of amygdala, which takes its cues from hippocampus, which is next to it. This is a memory system. So the memory is where we store past events, we associate meanings to it, and amygdala, our alarm system, help us react to the threats or whatever stimuli we get from the external environment. Now, grounding here interrupts this loop and it activates our prefrontal cortex. So the front part of our brain is the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. This is where grounding helps. So when you are in a stressed mode and you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, you're confused, you're going through a panic mode, you're going through complex emotions like grief, whatever the case may be, your emotional brain, which is your amygdala, is all charged up. Now, the moment we need to shift our brain activity of amygdala, we need to kind of inactivate that and activate our PFC, is where we need the help of grounding techniques. So this grounding technique really help us activate that PFC, which is the front part of our brain, and interrupts the loop of amygdala, that's our alarm system, and help us make a decision or think logically, because this is also called the executive functioning of our brain. Here's from where we think rationally, we think logically, we come and arrive at a decision. So when we use our PFC, our executive function, we are also triggering a parasympathetic nervous system, which is our body's rest and digest system. And through this is the longest nerve that runs from our head to toe, which is our vagus nerve. This helps us ground, meaning from a brain that is charged up to a brain where the other parts of brain who takes control of our highly emotional brain and ground us into the present moment so that we are protected and we don't fall into a deep stress mode. Grounding here is a technique, and there are not one but more than 5 grounding techniques, but they all work on the same principle where they stimulate the prefrontal cortex, they engage our senses, and bring us back to the present moment. Now, what really happens when we come back to the present moment? The moment we practice a grounding technique, when there is an internal shift, so we are moving away from the amygdala emotional part, this vagus nerve is from top to bottom is opening up our rest and digest system, and our PFC, the prefrontal cortex, is taking charge of our rational thinking. Suddenly we get into a state of calm. And the moment our PFC gets into the state of calm, this gives a signal back to the amygdala. That's a deep limbic system. It's somewhere here. This amygdala, our subconscious mind, in a way, tells us we are safe. And our flight, fight, or freeze response gets deactivated. So we literally, we are changing our neural pathways. And if you ever seen yourself from a sudden, overwhelmed, anxious state to a calm state, nothing happens suddenly. But if you practice grounding techniques, which I have shared in a separate video, from now you will watch 5 to 6 of them. When you do that, this protection that grounding technique is offering you is through all these three systems working in tandem with each other, where we then use this part of our brain, which is our PFC, to take charge, take our power back, get in charge, and the calm returns. So this is a very simple, my attempt to help you understand what really goes in our mind when we are in a panic, stressed, or anxious mode, how our amygdala, our deep limbic systems are charged up, and which part of our brain can then help us get back into the state of calm. Knowing this, friends, what really is going to help you is next time you feel anxious or stressed out, you know which part of your brain is charged up. And you also know that there is a technique called grounding techniques. And in the next video, as you see and watch and practice these grounding techniques, you will also learn that when and how, with your practice, you can literally change your neural pathways and prevent yourself from not falling into deep stress mode. What really happens if we do not protect ourselves from falling into a deep stress mode? Well, the one answer I have for that is we may literally get on a verge of developing a mental health disorder. So my whole intention of bringing this series, this workshop, is to share with you incredibly simple but preventive measures that can prevent not just you, any one of you. Please do share with anyone you feel can get benefited from this, so that we understand how our mind works, what really triggers and make us stressed and anxious, and at the same time, what can we do to really protect ourselves, because prevention is better than cure. Thank you.